Hello, everybody. My name is Corey Rosen, and you're listening to the Story with Cory. Today we have on a super awesome guest, Mr. Dave Standridge.
How's it going, everybody?
Dave is originally from Randolph, New Jersey, but has been living in Hershey for the past
10 years.
10 years, and for 12 of those, well, for all of those years, and more, you've been promoting bands locally or also around?
Worldwide.
Worldwide. So, explain a little bit more of what you do. You're involved in 3 different agencies, from what I can tell. Explain it all to me.
All right, so in 2013, when I was in college at Messiah, I started up. This is
You went
pop
to
punk.
Messiah.
I did.
How did that not come? I went to Lancaster Bible College.
Yeah, so I went there to wrestle and ended up, music ended up becoming like my passion. And so in 2013, I started my first music promotion company called This Is Pop Punk Promotions. So what I do with that is I interview bands, I set up tours, I set up playlists, I promote their songs and videos on my page. And then I went on hiatus for 5-6 years, did that from 2013 to 2015. Then I went hiatus for a bunch of years, and then I realized that I missed it. I realized that it was my love, my passion. I really missed it. So I decided to get back into it, and then I wanted to branch out. So then that's when I started Post Rock Promo in 2020, and then I started This Is Shoegaze Promotions last year. And same thing as This Is Pop Punk Promotions with those ones. I interview the bands, I set up tours, playlists, and promote their songs and videos on the pages.
So where did this love for promotion, interviewing, etc. start?
It actually started when I was like 7 years old. I remember I got into Linkin Park, Blink-182, Newfound Glory, Limp Bizkit.
New Linkin Park.
So new Linkin Park, I personally like it a lot. Is it as good as old Linkin Park? No.
It's different.
It's different.
I like it.
I think people just need to accept that Chester's gone and that these guys want to keep doing their thing. And so for that, I think that's really dope, really sick. And I think the new album is really good, and I think that Emily did a really good job just, being herself and not trying to be, someone that she's not.
I agree. I can keep moving on. I'm always curious about what people think about the new Linkin Park, because it's it was such like a whoa kind of thing, right? I really did enjoy it. I not that I was like the biggest Linkin Park fan, but I really enjoyed Emily's or the new direction that the band is taking. I'm really excited for it. So, you started listening to them, and then what?
So I started listening to those bands, and then it carried out through elementary school, middle school, high school. And then once I got to college, I was like, you know what? I want to be able to help the scene more, make new music friends, make friends with bands and podcasters and all that. I wanted to help the little guys.
Sure.
And so in 2013, I was like, you know what? There's nothing really going for pop punk as far as that stuff goes. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start up a music promotion company, and bam, This Is Pop Punk Promotions was born. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting at the Student Union in one of the booths. It was like the second to last booth, and I'm like, you know what? Let's get this party started. So then, bam, I started it, and the rest is history.
So I'm assuming you didn't have many connections.
At that time, I knew like 1 or 2 people. And then I started, and then it went from there.
So how does one that wants to get into this kind of thing? You start your own business. I assume you sole proprietor or LLC?
What's that?
Sole proprietor or LLC?
Sole proprietor.
Sole proprietor. Okay, so you start out and you say these 1 or 2 guys or people. How do you expand upon that?
So what I did was I would just like check out different bands, and I would comment on their pages, be like, hey, solid tunes, love what you're doing. When you get the chance, check out This Is Pop Punk Promotions. Bands started liking my page. They saw what I was doing. I started, friend requesting people, sending them messages, them sending me messages, and then I just became friends with all of them. And then I would go into like, the Defend Pop Punk group, shout out to Defend Pop Punk group, and a bunch of other pop punk groups, and I just, promoted my stuff in there. People liked it and commented on it. I, started promoting their music, and then, the rest is history. And then it just expanded and got bigger and bigger.
That's awesome. So, why Lancaster, PA? So you were originally in Randolph. Remind me, where in New Jersey is Randolph? Is that up, middle, or lower?
So Randolph is an hour from New York City. It's north.
Okay, so it's north. Okay. I figured as much because I'm pretty familiar with the southern part of New Jersey. So what's the scene? What was the scene like then?
So growing up, the scene in New Jersey, North Jersey was really good because you had bands like My Chemical Romance, Senses Fail. You had Houston Calls, Hidden in Plain View. So yeah, it was really, really dope to have all those bands, right around me.
So why Lancaster, PA?
So why Lancaster, PA?
Oh, well, Hershey.
Why Hershey is because I lived in Mechanicsburg for a couple of years, and I was like, you know what, I want to go somewhere. At the time, there wasn't a whole lot of Mechanicsburg, so I wanted to go somewhere where there was a little bit more going on. So then I moved to Hershey, and I've been there now for 7 years, and yeah, it's been quite the ride.
And so walk me through this, because from what I see, it's more of like a social media presence than. And so, are you in contact with bookers locally or nationwide? How does this all work? Because explain it to me like I'm 5.
So
I'm genuinely curious.
So I do have some friends that are bookers that put on shows at venues like in in Jersey, Pennsylvania, like throughout the world, and so I'll hit them up and just be like, hey, I'm booking a tour for so and so. Can you help us with a show in Paris or whatever? And then they say yes or no, and then we go from there.
It's crazy. So bands that want to get like I guess agents, you would consider yourself an agent, like this, how would they go about it? Because everyone's looking for the next venue. How would they go about it?
So if they were interested in me booking a tour for them, what they can do is they can either Facebook message me, Instagram message me, Facebook message me like on my personal. I'm not too like picky when it comes to that stuff. Or you can send me an email. This is poppunkpromo@gmail.com.
Are you just doing pop punk, or are you doing other stuff too?
I am doing post rock and shoegaze as well.
So, what is shoegaze?
So shoegaze is like the band called My Bloody Valentine, and another band called Slow Dive.
See, this is interesting to me because I'm not within these scenes whatsoever. So it's always interesting because Lancaster has so many scenes. it's kind of all over the place, and I was never really into pop punk or punk for that matter. Like the closest I got to was My Chemical Romance and only their song "Teenagers Scared the Living," and that was kind of like a country pop punk song. And so it's always interesting because pop punk really, from my understanding, hit the ground in 2000, 2010, and so you kind of like rode that wave a little bit. Where do you see, is the genre expanding, contracting? What do you think?
So I feel I was talking to one of my buddies from Jersey, Steve, last night about this, and I was telling him that I feel that pop punk and emo are coming back.
Really?
I feel like it's a full circle. So in the early 2000s, late 90s, it was huge because you had Blink, you had Newfound Glory, you had the Starting Line, you had Yellow Card, you had Simple Plan, all those bands. And then it went away for a while, and I feel like within the last like 4 or 5 years, it's been coming back, and I feel like it's full steam ahead now, and it's so beautiful to see.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of West Coast bands pop up, namely like TX2, and that's pretty much the only one because I liked one of their songs. But it seems like from what I can tell, a lot of pop, like Seattle. And what's the other one that's up there? And not Washington and Oregon. Wait, am I switching into Portland? That's the one. It seems like a lot of the bands are popping up there. Where do you see stuff popping up on the East Coast too, or?
I see bands popping up all over the place.
Really?
In California, in New Jersey, France, England, Australia.
They have an interesting scene over in Europe, don't they?
The European scene is ridiculous. Like, I tell people this all the time that I can't get over like how good the European scene is. And it's funny because like some of my European friends will be like, nah, like our scene is terrible. It's like, dude, like you guys have so many sick bands. Like this band called Mises versus Hero, and this other band called Light You Up, and this other band called Melrose, and this other band called Decade. And you have like the big bands like Oasis and The Cure and all that.
Gojira.
What's that?
Gojira,
yeah, Gojira.
That played at the Olympics. Sick. Amazing. Great stuff. I've always wanted to go over to Europe and just check out the music scene. Because I wonder what it's like rurally there. You know, the music scene is like rural because like here in the U.S., every small town has got their musicians, right? I can't imagine it wouldn't be anything different over there, but I wonder what the underground scene is like in Europe.
Yeah, as far as like rural and country, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a clue. I'll have to ask my friends over there. But the underground scene, it's like when it comes to like pop punk and hardcore and punk rock, like everywhere is up and coming.
That's awesome. What do you think? You think so? You think the genre as a whole is coming back full steam ahead? What do you like foresee in the future for pop punk?
I mean, I would love to see it back on the radio. Like that would be incredible. I would love for like MTV and Fuse and those big time pop punk and emo and post hardcore TV channels from middle school and high school to come back, because I feel like that could really that's game changer right there.
Yeah, that when MTV came out, it was like it was insane. It was awesome. I mean, it gave smaller bands a chance to really shine. That's where a lot of the pop punk bands came from. Really, if you got on MTV, you kind of made it, like almost instantly, whether you were good or not. At least from what I remember. It's been a long time since the MTV era. It's it's like about 15, 20 years ago. Jeez, we're getting old.
Well, I mean, you're getting old. I'm staying young.
Well, I am 25. It's not like I'm like, oh, back in my day.
I'm just kidding.
So, you're doing this currently. Is this your only job that you're doing?
So my full-time job is I work with kids with special needs, and
really,
yeah, I love that. Super passionate about that. This is a side gig. I don't make any money. I'm just doing it because I love it. It makes me really happy, and I love, like I said, I love making new music friends.
And you get to see cool shows.
And I get to see cool shows. I get to travel the world and go to shows in different countries and go to shows in different states. It's incredible.
That's all. I work with special needs adults. So, I not to go on a rant real quick, but do you use music in your special needs times at all?
So I don't think my kids would like my music. So no.
No. But the reason why I ask is that we use it in our program. We have like music time, whatever, where it would be like, you ever watch VeggieTales?
Yes.
Assume you're a Christian.
Yeah, I did watch like an episode or two.
So like silly songs of Larry, we would like have like an hour dedicated to like silly songs to get them up and moving, or like we'll sing Amazing Grace or whatever else. Just fun stuff, and it's really interesting how music, at least for just for humankind, it lights up. It's the only thing that lights up your entire brain. Did you know that? It's the only thing that lights up all sections of your brain. Create like some of them have mental disabilities, but they will remember like old childhood songs, and they can't remember other stuff. It's unreal, insane how well how music can transform these people just by hearing a few notes. It's wonderful. And I wish there was I guess there is some research. I had a music therapist on at one point. I want to get another one on just to pick their brains and see what they think, because technology is always advancing, and we're always figuring out new stuff about music and our brains. So I'm really curious to see what breakthroughs that are in that field. You mentioned going to other countries. What is the biggest culture shock that you've received?
Ooh, I would say probably one of the things was, in England, driving on the other side of the road.
That must
and like the steering wheel being on the other side. I would say that kind of like threw me off a little bit. Oh, and also in Europe, they don't tip.
Right.
They don't tip. That threw me off a little bit. I remember like the first time I went to the bar with some of my friends, and we were getting beers, and I went to tip, and the bartender just like looked at me weird, and my friend, he was just like, dude, in the UK and Europe you don't tip because they get paid better over here.
Well, yeah.
I was like, interesting. So that threw me off a little bit, yeah, I would say that was probably about it.
It's so interesting to me how American culture is just not what it is everywhere else. Like the tipping stuff, like certain countries it'll seem like as an offense, but over here it's like you gotta tip or else not so nice. Um, so where is one place that you haven't gone that you wish to go to check out the music scene?
Australia.
Australia.
Australia would
Why
be
is that?
Australia would be really sick because I'm a big beach guy, so I'd love to hit up the beaches, maybe get a little surfing in down there. And then their punk rock scene is really sick. You have bands like Body Jar and Heroes for Hire, and this other band called Judo Chop, and then a bunch of other like really sick bands.
So how do you just find these bands? Is it just you know a guy that knows a guy, or are you constantly like looking up on like Instagram like reels or the search function?
So some of these bands hit me up, and then other bands I find on Instagram, I find on Facebook. Lately, I've been finding a lot of bands on friend stories on Instagram.
Really?
And also Spotify too. Spotify was really cool because you listen to a band, and then below it says, if you like this band, you should check out this band and that band, and then after a while you just checked out 10 new bands.
Sure, that's awesome. Well, if you're really interested in getting to learn new, I think my biggest problem is that I'm so locked into my own style of music that I like, and it's hard for me to expand past that, because I am a big like '60s fan, like Elton John, Queen, moving into '70s, '80s, like classic rock kind of stuff, and there's not a lot of modern music besides locally. I like a lot of the local stuff here, but other than that. It's like I don't know. Not interested. I guess I don't mean to be like, the music was only good in the '60s, '70s, and '80s, because that's not the case, right? It's just the stuff that doesn't really interest me at this point, and so. And my Spotify algorithm is so rooted in that, so I can't get outside of it. So you say just look up whatever bands that you find on your Instagram reels or your friends' stories, and then check out what other bands sound like that through Spotify. How often is that like a conscious thing that you do, or is that just something that you just on autopilot?
So sometimes I'll do it on purpose, and then sometimes I'll just be scrolling, doing whatever, and then just come across so and so from France, and then I'll check them out, and then fall in love with them and start following them.
So how hard is it from that point to like establish a connection?
I would say it's not too hard.
Not too hard?
Yeah, I mean some bands are easier to connect with than others. Like some are better at like responding than others. Some are more, into forming like legit relationships than others. So yeah, you just got to figure out like which ones are all about that and which ones aren't.
You gotta be ready for the rejection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how did you get into these other countries? Is it just the same thing? Like, hey, I'm coming over. Can we hang out or something? Or is it just as simple as that? Or how do you get these connections in these different places?
So for the first tour, I threw up a post, and I was just like, if you're interested in doing the first This Is Pop Punk Promotions tour, let me know. And then I got a bunch of messages, and then I decided on this band called Melrose, rest in peace. They were absolutely incredible, easy core band. And then this other band, Landmarks, again, rest in peace, awesome band. They were pop punk emo. And then later on, we added Boston Manor. At the time, they were pop punk emo. Now they're more like nu metal. And I ended up booking the shows. And some of the shows that I had a tough time booking, like they helped me with it because they at the time had like more connections. So we worked together on it. We collabed. And I ended up flying over there, and then the first tour was mostly England, Norwich, Canterbury, Manchester, Sheffield, and then we did Paris, Lille, and then a couple other cities in the mainland, and then that was it. And then the second time around, everything was just ready to go because the end of the first tour, we were like, hey, let's do a second one. So then year 2, we were all set up and ready to rock and roll. So then we picked the locations, we picked the cities and the countries, and then got them all booked, and the rest is history.
So when you say tour, because you yourself don't have a band.
No.
So what does that mean for you on your end of things?
So I was the tour manager, so I helped them, load their gear in, set up their merch, made sure that they got paid, things like that.
And you just got to hop along for the ride.
Yes, which I'm extremely grateful for. It's something that I'll never take for granted.
That is awesome. Are you gonna do more?
That's the plan. I just gotta figure out when and where.
Here's a question. You started this business in 2013, you said? 2015?
2013, I started my first one. This is Pop Punk.
So, pandemic happens. World shuts down. What do you do?
So, during COVID, during the pandemic, honestly, I didn't get affected by it. I was still able to promote, band songs and videos on my pages and on my personal pages, and I was able to find new bands. It gave me a lot of time to find new bands to listen to, so that was really cool. So, yeah, I mean, my friends in bands, they got hurt big time, but it didn't impact me.
Yeah, as I say, because, there's a lot of people in the music industry that hit it big because they were doing sit-in live streams, or they were, promoting their music as you can do with so much time on your hands. So it's, in some ways it's a blessing, in some ways it was a curse. I would argue maybe more of a curse than a blessing, but it gave people time to really hone in their skill and to expand their work. And I imagine, I guess yours would have been an essential. If you were working the same job, it would have been essential, right?
Yeah, so I remember like it was yesterday. I was at a different school at the time, and we got an announcement, and they were like, "Oh, because of COVID, like we're shutting down." We thought it was just gonna be for a week. I ended up not working for 6 months. At first, it was nice because it gave me more music time.
Right.
Then, maybe a month in, I'm like, okay, this is terrible. I was bored out of my mind, and eventually, I was able to. Just find things to do, find music stuff to do to occupy my time, and it ended up all working out.
Yeah, I remember it was yesterday too, specifically because I was in the LBC choir, and they like to do trips every year. It was March 13th, the day when everything happened, and we were scheduled to leave for Ireland that day. And we got the news, or I heard the news the day before that it was going to get canceled because of COVID. Oh. And we were going to sing in St. Peter's Cathedral, and sing in Dublin and all over the place. And oh my gosh, we were utterly destroyed. I was all paid for. I had my suitcase packed. Some people even came in the next day with their suitcases packed, still thinking that we were going. Oh,
I would have been livid.
I was upset. And we were gonna be there for St. Patrick's Day too.
Oh, I know, man, I would have been beside myself.
I was not happy. I'll make it out of this country someday, but God said no.
Well, it's funny that you said that because I'm actually going to Ireland this summer.
Oh, really?
But it's a non-music trip. It's a tourist trip, and I'm really excited about that. For the first time there, not music related, I'll be able to take my time and see the things that I want to see, and I'm not gonna have to worry about going from, point A to point B and having to get there at a certain time and rush all the gear in, rush all the gear out. Right. So this will be really nice.
So what are you gonna see?
The plan is to go to the Guinness factory because I'm a big Guinness guy. I love my Guinness beer. Jameson factory, I like my whiskey and my Jameson, so I'm really excited about that. And to maybe see go to my first European football match. I'm a big European football guy.
Really?
Yeah. And Manchester United's my team. I mean, they're awful right now, but it is what it is.
Such is the way.
Yeah, you got to support your team. So. Right. Yeah, I'm excited to go there, and you see all kinds of really sick things.
That's awesome. I would like to go to Ireland too.
Do it, man.
You say do it, but it's also it's just not. Well, I mean, it is really simple just to do it, but if you have no strings attached, right? So that's the problem, right? How much are you willing to sacrifice to do what you want to do? And that's always the question, right? Am I willing to give up my apartment and all the stuff in it and maybe even my job at some point, right? Or am I willing to sacrifice 2 weeks of pay, or because if you're gonna go to Europe, you gotta go at least for like a week, right? Or else there's no point to go at all. It's not like a 3-day trip thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Or you can go to like Nashville for 3 days and that's fine. But if I'm going to Ireland, I'm gonna stay there for at least a week.
Yeah, I tell people anywhere from like 7 to 10 days. I feel like you get your money's worth. Like if you go like below that, if you go 5 or 6, I think it's kind of pointless.
Yeah, right. Because first off, you got to spend at least half a day getting used to the time switch, right? And you got to at least like spend one day just to rest, or else it's not a vacation. Just doing stuff all the time. At least that's how I function on a vacation. I like to actually like sit down and rest, not just do stuff all the time.
Yeah, no, it's vacation. Like you shouldn't be stressed. You should be excited and full of energy and ready to like see all kinds of cool new cultures and hear all kinds of awesome accents and languages and
eat some really food.
Amazing food, drink some amazing beer or whatever. So
that'll be fun. When are you going for that, you said?
I'm flying out June 16th and coming back on the 27th.
That's nice. You get to miss some of the hottest parts of the times in America.
I love the heat, so it's all good.
I cannot stand the heat. We'll get to this in a little bit, but we had an interview, and I had much longer hair at that point. There was like 2 days when it was like 70 degrees. It was flip-flopping between 70 and 30 for some reason. And I was like, I can't stand this heat. It's too much hair on my face. So I lost a few pounds by cutting it off, and I got a few degrees cooler. I cannot stand the heat. I moved north. I might go further.
Hey, always go to Canada.
I don't think I want to go to Canada. I'd rather move to Alaska, where they'll pay you to move there.
That would be sick.
It would be amazing. And I heard it's just as beautiful, and you get all the perks of being an American, as many as there are, but all the downsides of it being in the middle of nowhere, or upsides depending on who you are. There's ups and downs to that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a person that like doesn't really like people, then maybe Alaska's the way to go.
Right. But not if you're trying to do music. It'd be a little hard, I imagine. Although I'm sure. I want to know what the scene in Alaska's like now. Now I'm just gonna go and just as like a music tourist and just see what it is.
There was one band I used to promote back in the day, back in 2013, that was from Alaska. They were called Noise Brigade, and they were pretty sick.
That is really interesting because I can't imagine. There's only like Anchorage is like the big spot, right, in Alaska, and then everywhere else is kind of like small towns. And I would really be interested to go into a bar and see what live music, if any, that they would be having, and what it's like there. Because I'm sure the songs you would come up with would be really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and it's really sick. I was on Facebook yesterday, and I saw that the Ataris, emo pop punk band from the early 2000s, another one of my biggest influences, they're actually heading to Alaska now.
Really?
Yeah. I forget where exactly they're playing, but I'm just like, wow, like that's really like dope.
It is really dope. I love seeing musicians do really cool things. Like for example, when the Eclipse came, there's this band called Day Moon locally, and I was like, you guys should 1,000% like film a music video during the Eclipse. How sick would that be?
That would be
that'd be utterly insane.
That would be absolutely ridiculous, and I know that if I was in a band, I would definitely like force my bandmates to do that.
Right, exactly. I was like, it's literally the closest. Go to Lake Erie, even though it's cloudy. I went to Vermont to go see it, but either way, just go out in a field and just record and watch as like the sun slowly disappears. Did you see an eclipse?
I did.
What a magical thing.
It was wild. It was like absolutely wild. I think maybe like half of one.
Okay, half, dude. You have to see it in totality. The corona is unreal. Like I was terrified. Like this primal fear came over me. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna die. Until I saw someone's headlights, and I'm like, okay, we're fine.
It'll remind me of the kind of stuff that you would see in like Twilight.
Right. It's supernatural almost. Even though, it's perfectly natural. It's but it makes me want to go to Iceland. That's where the next one is in 2026. And I would like to go to Iceland anyway. So, and there's some awesome Icelandic bands too.
Iceland would be absolutely incredible. I've only heard great things from my cousins and my aunt and friends that have been there.
I would like to go. So that's my next plan, and then maybe I will record a music video with the clips in the background. I think that should be sick as anything.
Well, you can do that over there, and then you can also do an episode of the Story with Cory over there.
I could do that. I could do both. I could do all three at once.
You could just interview random, Icelanders.
Yeah, that'd be. Well, yeah, because I'm always interested in hearing other perspectives, and living in the Arctic Circle, in a place called Iceland. Even though apparently it's not so icy as Greenland is, but whatever. I think it's just it's different culture, completely different culture. And from what I understand, they speak mostly Dutch and English. So hopefully there'll be some not so much of a language barrier. And they've got wonderful architecture. I don't know if you've seen Reykjavik and the giant cathedral there.
I don't think I have.
They have a ginormous cathedral in Reykjavik, which is their capital. And I've always wanted to go there and just see it. Or like the hot springs up in the north part of the island. Seems like awesome. Just chill out in like a natural hot tub amongst the snow. Sounds like ideal for me because I love the cold, but I don't like being too cold. So.
I've seen pictures of those lagoons, and I'm like, that looks incredible.
Right.
Incredible.
Right. Absolutely incredible. So, what have you got planned for the next 5 years? Where do you want to take these companies of yours?
Just keep doing what I'm doing, and keep making new friends, and keep growing the following, and get back to doing the tours, and a music fest would be really sick.
Have you done that before?
I have not.
Really?
Yeah, I have not. That would be really sick.
Why? Haven't you been able to do it?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't really think about it before, but now I'm thinking about it. It's funny. I didn't think about it, and then a bunch of people were like, "Dave, like you should do a music fest. Like bands would be about it."
Yeah.
So now I'm like, the gears are grinding, and I'm like really like thinking about it, and figuring out like how it would work and like what bands would be on it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'd be. Here's a question: how do you feel about the Hershey music scene?
The Hershey music scene, personally, I think it could be better. My honest opinion, and I'll be straight up. I'm a straight shooter. So my honest opinion is it's not the greatest, and there's not many bands, many venues to choose from. And
it's like a seasonal town itself.
Yeah, it is. It's very touristy. I feel like they don't really appreciate, like different things like pop punk and skateboarding and things like that.
Pulling in national acts.
Yeah, they're more into like the big bands, which I love to death. Like I love the Linkin Parks and the Limp Bizkits of the world.
Like Green Day came.
Green Day, Rancid, like bands like that. They're like some of my biggest influences. But it'd be cool if they cared about the small guys too, because those bands started small ones, and now they are where they are.
At least they got the CPMAs there every year. Besides this past year, that was at the AMC.
True. But at the same time, I got to keep in mind that I was spoiled in Jersey. I really was, because I had venues everywhere. I had the VFWs and the American Legions, where there was all kinds of amazing shows. I had My Chem and Census Fail and all those bands. So really spoiled. What'd you say?
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of those out here.
No, and plus what makes it tough is that Pennsylvania is so spread out.
Oh,
it's
it
so
really
huge
is,
and so spread out, whereas Jersey is so small and so like compact that it's easier to like get around and make new friends and go to shows.
Yeah, if you could drive 2 hours and be almost any direction and be outside of New Jersey. Yeah, because PA, right? Because we have like this like 5-city cluster, like Lancaster, Lancaster, Reading, York, Harrisburg, Hershey. So we're kind of, it's really, and it's like 40 minutes to each city from each other. Forget if you want to go from like, Harrisburg to Reading, it's like an hour. York to Reading to like Ephrata, or we all have these like little pockets of music, but you're right, it is all spread out. There's not, I mean, Tallis has like its choice of like 5 or 6 venues. Harrisburg has their, I guess Harrisburg and Mechanicsburg are almost one and the same, because they're very much the same area. I think there's like 10 venues there. This is not the best knowledge because I've only been here for like 3 years. So, you know what I mean? But you're right, it is spread out. How do you think we could make this better for musicians?
I just think by talking to these owners, these business owners about just promoting these shows and promoting these bands in their stores, and just getting them to be more open to like having pop punk bands, punk rock, hardcore, or whatever, play at their places.
Do you think that there's the audience here in Pennsylvania for that kind of music?
So in Lancaster, yes. Harrisburg, a little bit. It really just depends on where you go. York, there's a tiny bit. Hershey, not as much. It's painful for me to say it because that's where I live, but just not as much.
There's a bit more hoity-toity there.
Yeah, Philadelphia, absolutely.
Oh, yeah,
I love Philly's scene.
Baltimore,
like, yep. DC is, from what I understand, is pretty good. But Hershey specifically, it's just, not a whole lot. So
that's okay. And it is really interesting because I moved to Lancaster for college and only really got into the music scene like 3 years. So like I said, 3 years ago, and it surprised me. Amish USA, hardcore bands, right? All over the place. Really. Not a plot twist. Misconception there. What I thought was, because you go to Phantom Power, they have punk rock, like rock metal bands there all the time, and similar with like Love Drafts over in Harrisburg. That's like probably your one. If there was to be one, that would be it, of like pop, punk, rock, hardcore stuff. From my experience. Where would you go if you wanted to see a good pop punk rock band?
I would probably go to Love Drafts. Would be one of my first choices. I saw Mets there, another one of my biggest influences, and they killed it. Let's see, in Harrisburg you have Club XL. That's where I saw Coheed and Hawthorne Heights and Stick to Your Guns and bands like that. So Club XL, Love Drafts in Mechanicsburg.
That's a good variety too.
Yeah, and absolutely. And then Lancaster, you have Phantom Power, and I mean, used to have Chameleon Club, but that closed down. Rest in peace.
Yeah, he's now doing the Village though. The owner, he runs the Village now. So.
Huh. Interesting. Where's that at?
You know where the Holiday Inn is?
I think so.
So it's like right off. Oh, I am not good at geography or my city geography, but it's really close to like Marriott Square or the Marriott Court. That's the venue it's close by to there. It's right next to one of the parking garages, right next to if you look up the Holiday Inn, Lancaster, it's literally across the street. And he's been doing like $5 like nightclub nights, club nights, he's got the Chameleon Lounge or the Lizard Lounge, sorry. Right, so there's like the main venue. It's got like an 80s dance floor, sick as anything. And then he's got like the Lizard Lounge in the back, and he brings in his usual stuff, right? The roots and blues kind of stuff that Rich Ruoff always does. It's really cool. You should check it out at least once. It's a great spot, and they got good drinks there too. So.
The important stuff.
Right.
The very important stuff. That sounds pretty dope.
Yeah, it's fun. It's very fun. I would highly suggest it, and it's popping. Sorry for the voice crack, but it is popping. It's pop. Maybe not pumpkin, but it's popping.
You got to start somewhere, and then climb that ladder.
Right, 100%. So, what is one thing that you know now that you wish you knew when you first started this?
So I would say the one thing that I've learned is to, not do it for the money. Do it because it makes you happy and because it's fun and you get great joy out of it.
You get to meet great people.
And also it's like, it's like it's cool to have, a lot of music friends and all that, but if they're not good people, if they don't support you, then, it really doesn't matter. I'd rather have less and then be like genuine and like legit people than have more and then being like just, not good people, not supportive and all that.
Yeah, you always gotta have quality people around you.
Quality over quantity.
Oh, 1,000%. That's the only way you can really move up in the music scene. Because if you got a bunch of friends that would happily write you off or throw you under the bus, not gonna get anywhere. If you got friends that like, oh, I need a guy that can manage my tour, blah, blah, blah. I know just a guy, Dave Standridge. Check him out. You know what I mean? You need those kind of people. Those are the kind of people, because you never know who's watching. You never know who's listening. You never know who is anybody. Like, you could be related to this one person that might need a music composer or just might need to go on a podcast to promote something or something. And now you know me. Or you have your own network and stuff, so you might have someone that's better than me that you can connect them to. You know what I mean? Because you never know, and that's part of the that's anything in life, right? You gotta make sure that you are just as supportive as these people are to you to make it work. Because the music scene doesn't work unless everyone's supporting each other. It's not competition. It is in a sense, right? But in the end, if someone gets on a lineup that you don't, it's always going to be another lineup.
It's all about supporting others and not getting upset about it, and just keep plugging along.
Yeah, be the best sport that you can, because no one likes a bad sport, and you probably won't get booked if you're a bad sport.
Yeah, sore losers are definitely not fun to be around.
So, you have this other branch where you interview artists. Tell me about this. I was recently on yours.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on. I had an absolute blast getting to know you. Yeah, I'm really getting into interviews. For the longest time, I didn't do it, and then I think somebody brought it up to me. I'm like, you know what? That's a great idea. And so then I started doing it, and at first I was like, really nervous because it was a new thing.
It's weird.
And I've done over I would say I've probably done 200 plus, and now it's just nothing, and it's just having a normal conversation with these bands and these labels, and I just love learning their stories and what makes them tick, and what they like to do outside of music, whether it's skateboarding or painting, whatever. And lately I've been doing more labels and podcasters and engineers, and that's been a blast. Because I think they deserve more love. I don't think they get the love that they deserve.
I totally agree. Because the difference between a good band and a bad band can be the producer.
1,000%.
1,000%. 1,000%. There's some bands that wouldn't be as big as they are today. Like Taylor Swift wouldn't be as big as she is today without her producer. And it's what they do is wizardry. Truly, they know the ins and outs of mixing, mastering, what a sound needs to sound like, amps can provide so many different sounds. Which one do we need for this project? Or just funding too. they know everything, and I really do appreciate all the producers out there and sound engineers too. That know their stuff way more than I do. That are the nerds of the music industry.
The lights people, the merch guys, the tour managers.
Oh yeah, exactly. There's so much more than just the artist that make things work, and you have to appreciate all. Just like appreciating the janitor at the school, he makes things clean. a lot a lot of these people make things clean, and whether it be the mixer or the sound person, they make things clean, and it's all the better for it.
And the thing is like Taylor Swift and like Blink, they would say the same thing, or you would think they would say the same thing.
You would hope so, at least, because they definitely wouldn't be anywhere without all the people moving her massive staging and stuff, and her being able to trust them to set it up correctly each time. Because they have 2 planes, they're already setting up the next tour or the next spot, and you have to be able to trust them, and even your security, once you're that big, right? Gotta make sure you trust them and take care of them too, or else, that's a real security risk, right? So. You've done you're still working on. Is there any idea that you would like to start a band at all?
So it's funny that you said that. Growing up, I really wanted to play drums, but I didn't have the time because of wrestling and baseball and basketball and all that. So I wasn't able to do it. Last July, with me being retired and all that, I was like, in having more free time. I was like, you know what? I feel like now is the perfect time to learn how to play drums. And so I took the plunge. I started taking lessons with Joe from the band All Systems Go. Shout out to Joe. Awesome dude, awesome drum teacher. And I've been doing it since July, and I'm having an absolute blast. So maybe someday, if I ever get good enough, I don't see why not. And and it's funny, I've thought about like what kind of music I would play. And I think I would want to do like multiple. I'd want to like one band to be like, fast pop punk from the early 2000s, so like Alistair, Blink, Newfound, and then like it'd be cool to be in like a post-hardcore band like The Used, Silverstein, Chiodos, like bands like that. And then I think it'd be cool to be in like a shoegaze band, like a Slowdive or like a My Bloody Valentine, Ride. So I feel like it'd be cool to be in like multiple projects.
That's awesome. That is really cool. Ever thought about writing original music?
Yeah, I have thought about it, and yeah, maybe soon I'll start getting the ball rolling.
Well, be sure to look out for that. Do you have anything else that you would like to promote while you're here?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for the support. All my friends and family and followers that are gonna watch this, and I really appreciate the support. Wouldn't be here without you guys, so thank you so much.
So, one of the last questions is, what is one of the funniest or worst things that's ever happened to you on stage or on tour at all?
I would say one of the funniest things that happened to me while I was on tour was, sleeping on dirty stages and, not showering for like 3-4 days.
Sometimes that's what you gotta do, right?
Yeah, and also I just remember, being in Paris and going to this one bar. It was so dope. In the I forget the name of it, but we went into this bar, and the front everybody was dressed up in like dresses and listening to classical. We went to the back, and everybody was moshing, and they were blasting metalcore.
That is so funny.
And it was honestly one of the funniest, but like coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life.
Like a movie.
It really was. I felt like I was in like Taken,
right,
or like one of those like European movies. It was so sick.
So, what is one thing that you are still working on? What is one like area of your job that you're still working on?
I would say just not allowing lack of support get to me, like bother me. Not allowing Facebook's and Instagram's algorithm bother me, not allowing people not seeing my posts, get to me. Just keep, doing what's right. Keep doing what makes you happy. If people see it, then sick. If not, it is what it is. Like, you knew what you signed up for. So,
right. Well, with all that said, where can people find you at?
So you guys can find me at this is Pop Punk Promotions on Facebook. This is Shoegaze Promotions on Facebook, and Post Rock Promo on Facebook, and also on Instagram. Just look all those up, and you'll be able to find us.
Well, make sure you go check him out. This has been the Story Podcast with Cory. And I am Cory. My name is Cory Rose, and you can check out all the things. Well, eventually you can at my website, CoryRosenProductions.com. That's CoryRosen Productions.com. I've been talking all day, and my mouth is tired of it. So, with all that said, I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.